My name is Fritz. I'm the product manager for our UX and platform. I've had a career in both X and CX for the last 20 years, 15 of which have been focused on cybersecurity. It's mission critical, right? It's like the ability to identify threats, respond to them correctly is time sensitive often, and usability challenges either delay that response or lead to the incorrect conclusion and oftentimes incorrect action as a response to a threat. A lot of times it has to do with the breadth or the diversity of the SOC analysts, right? So we have junior analysts, we've got very senior analysts, and everywhere in between. Even amongst security professionals, you have some that are more technical than others and some that are less. And so striking that balance to not alienate your junior analysts from and present them with information that's not useful to them, or to alienate your senior analysts or highly technical analysts and inundate them with a bunch of irrelevant information is the key to striking that balance. So at the beginning of every process, every feature development cycle, we set the success criteria for that particular initiative. Sometimes that's just user adoption, repeated user adoption, as well as are we trying to attack a specific part of that workflow and make it more efficient. So we attach a KPI around how long it takes to execute that, how many steps are required to execute that process, and any number of different specific to that use case. Absolutely. For every pattern, there's an anti-pattern. And so for every success criteria, there should be a failure criteria too. And a lot of times we look at, are we achieving that? And then we don't look at the failure criteria until we say, okay, we're not achieving the success criteria. Let's look at the inverse scenario, when really you should define both at the same time. What is the minimum acceptable thing? Like, we understand in a lot of cases where we try to cater to a more technical use case that we may negatively impact another use case that's simpler, just to keep those designs consolidated. But we have to understand, like, what's the minimum acceptable, what's the most we can negatively impact something. Not knowing your user, right? A lot of it has to do with putting something that's way too technical for a junior analyst in front of them, or something that's way too verbose for a senior analyst. Not knowing the context, or not being adaptable. You don't always know the skill level of who's looking at your content or who's looking at your interface. But making it customizable, adjustable by the user to fit their needs, I think it is the obvious solution, but not everybody does that. And it's a big pet peeve of mine when I get into an interface and I have to deal with one of those scenarios.